While Southeast Asia might not be the region you think of when talking about lizards, we do have a lot of unique lizards. If you are the kind of person who likes the quote unquote primitive looking lizards, or perhaps the monstrous kaiju looking ones, we got a lot of monitor lizards. I mean, the famous Komodo dragon is here, and other giants like the Asian water monitor or the crocodile monitor. If you like that kind of things, but you're the kind of person that don't like something that is too popular, then we got sailfin lizards. Oh, and as a Southeast Asian, I'm quite surprised by the fact that apparently some people abroad like to keep tokegekko as pet. I literally couldn't see why you would like this thing to the point that you would keep them as pets, but you do you, I suppose. While chameleons don't exist naturally in Southeast Asia, we do have some colorful lizards here. If you walk through the forest in the morning, you could see some flying dragons displaying their patagium and flagging. Or, if you don't like flying dragons because it's also too popular, then we also got the butterfly lizards. But the question is, why are they called butterfly lizard? Surely there is a reason? Well, let me bring up the question. What exactly is butterfly lizard? It might be obvious, but yes, butterfly lizards are lizard, which means they are chordate, vertebrate to be exact, they are reptiles, and they are squamata. Among lizards, they are classified within the Agamidae family. I personally prefer to call them agamids, but some people call this family the dragons, or dragon lizards, which is a questionable name for me personally, but sure. Butterfly lizards are their own subfamily, Leiolepidae, with only one genus, Leiolepis. Leios means smooth, while lepis means scale. Smooth scale. Apparently because they look like they have smooth scales, but that's not exactly true though. It is what it is, I suppose. There are several species in this genus. Reptile database listed 11 of them, including Leiolepis glaurum, which was described quite recently. Though, I would like to point out that some of these species are not like the others. It might have been written somewhere in the title or maybe thumbnail or perhaps description, but yes, some of these species are asexual. I've talked about asexual species in some of my videos. In fact, I uploaded a video talking about klepton several weeks ago, and what you would notice when reading about asexual species across different taxa is these asexual species are also not built the same. They have different ways of proliferation, whatever it takes to survive, because life finds a way. I'll talk about butterfly lizards reproduction later on in this video. But anyway, like I hinted earlier, butterfly lizards are native to Southeast Asia. However, if you look them up on iNaturalist, you would see these observations. So the thing is, Leiolepis rubritineata, the red-banded butterfly lizards, was introduced to Florida, which honestly might not be surprising for many of you because there's a bunch of problematic invasive species in Florida already. Disregarding the introduced population in Florida, their distribution typically doesn't overlap in their natural range. However, Leiolepis rubritineata and the newly described Leiolepis glaurum seems to overlap in some areas. They don't inhabit the same niche though. More on that later. Now, let's talk about their morphology. But before that, butterfly lizards are moderately sized, at least among agamids. They can be as small as 13 centimeters in snout to fan length, but the biggest, which is Leiolepis guttata, also known as the giant butterfly lizard, can reach over 18 centimeters in snout to fan length, which is not exactly giant, but it is the biggest recorded butterfly lizard at least. Just to be clear, snout to fan length is the length from their snout to their cloaca. Basically, their body minus the tail. Their tail itself is at least as long as their SVL, it can even reach twice the SVL in some species. Their body is robust and depressed, without any noticeable crest. The tail is rounded, also with no noticeable crest. The head is relatively short and rounded, and they have some enlarged front teeth. This is not exactly unique among agamids, but at least based on my experience in observing them, the front teeth of butterfly lizards are exceptionally enlarged, giving them a fanged look. They are given the name butterfly lizards because they, especially the males, have these colorful skin flaps on their sides, which can be spread for display, like a butterfly wing. Well, not exactly, but they do so by expanding their ribs. Actually, another group of Southeast Asian agamids, which I already mentioned earlier, the flying dragons, also do this thing. Their flaps are even more specialized, becoming a patagium which not only functions as a display, but also for gliding. Arguably, they are the ones that should be called butterfly lizards, but it is what it is. Moving back to the butterfly lizards, the sexual species have males and females, and each species males have unique pattern. Hence, you could use that for identification. Meanwhile, the asexual species are all females and almost identical between each other and their ancestor species, which is Leiolepis guttata, in terms of pattern that is. Though, as is the usual case for reptiles, you could also use meristic traits to be sure, including their measurements, the presence and the number of certain scales, whether said scales are killed or not, and femoral pores, which butterfly lizards do have. I'm not gonna talk about it in detail because there are 11 species of them, and it's not exactly easy to show using the images available on the internet. Just reading the description of each species would be boring and ineffective for a YouTube video, so if you do want to identify them, you could check out some guidebooks. But anyway, let's talk about their ecology. Butterfly lizards typically prefer sandy soils. Hence, they typically inhabit coasts and savanna. However, one species, Leiolepis glaurung, the recently described one, is different in that regard. They prefer elevated rocky habitats. However, their behavior is still similar. All species that we currently know make burrows, and they seal their burrows with soils when they are hidden inside. Butterfly lizards are diurnal, meaning they are active during the day. Their diet consists of mainly insects, but also other arthropods and plant materials, including the fruits, leaves, flowers, and also seeds. Hence, they are omnivorous. Like I said earlier, males can expand their colorful flaps. Intuitively, you might think they do this to attract females. While that is indeed true, that's not the only case. They also deploy it in male-to-male combat. Unfortunately, data on their reproduction is scarce. We do know that all of them are oviparous, and a clutch size of 3x is possible. I tried looking up butterfly lizards farm because I know some people do keep them as pets, but all I can find is some old articles talking about some farms that most likely aren't actually breeding the animals. They most likely caught them in the wild and just kept them in large enclosure until it was sold. Now, talking about the asexual species, there are 4 of them. They reproduce asexually by parthenogenesis. I did mention this earlier, but yes, the maternal ancestor of these asexual species is Leiolepis guttata, hence they have similar pattern. They most likely arose from the hybridization between female Leiolepis guttata and male Leiolepis reefsi from specific populations. Analysis showed multiple occurrences of hybridization, which led to different group of asexual butterfly lizards. Some of these are triploids, meaning they most likely underwent multiple hybridization steps before finally reaching their current state. By the way, like I said earlier, even though their pattern looks similar, each of them can be identified by observing their meristic traits, which is why herpetologists tend to assign each of them to their own species. While some of them are least concerned, especially the ones that have wider distribution range, some of them are vulnerable or even endangered. Even some of the ones that are categorized as least concern are undergoing population decline. Meanwhile, some are straight up data deficient, not enough data to assign them to specific conservation status. Like I said earlier, some people do keep butterfly lizards as pets, but if there is no farm that breeds them within said facility, then more and more butterfly lizards will be caught from the wild, hence they will always be declining. There are a lot of things that we don't know about them, so who knows what we'll learn in the future. But for now, let's just learn what is known. And that's all for now. Oh, by the way, apparently, they are sold at quite an expensive price, and not only to be kept as pets. Some people also eat them. That explains their population decline. Anyway, enjoy your day.